In this video, I will show you how to write the standard form equation of a parabola if we are given the focus and we know the vertex is 0, 0. Here's a diagram of an upward facing parabola. There's a value called P that tells you the location of the focus. The directrix is going to be the same distance in the opposite direction. Remember that if I have an equation where the x is squared, that lets you know that you are looking at a vertical parabola. If the y part is positive, it's going to be upward facing. If I have a negative number in front of the y, for example, if I had a negative 4y, then it would be a downward facing parabola. But this would be, for example, an upward facing parabola. So if we do have the y squared, then we know it will be a sideways parabola like this. And again, this p value is going to show up right here, letting you know where the focus is. Let's do a quick sketch. Here's my y-axis and x-axis. This is the focus at -2, 0. All right, so here's the focus right here, which means that we're looking at a parabola that is opening to the left. All right, so this is a sideways parabola. That tells us that we're going to have y squared equals something. Y squared is equal to 4p times x to be exact. Our p value is right here though. This is the p value. So in this case, p is equal to -2. But what we need for the equation is 4p. So if p equals -2, then 4p is equal to -8. I just multiplied both sides by 4. That tells me that this is going to be -8 right here in the equation. So my equation becomes y squared equals -8x. Okay, so just remember, when it's sideways, it'll be y squared. If it's vertical, it'll be x squared. Okay, let's do a quick sketch. Okay, 0, -1. That's going to be right here. All right, there's the point 0, -1. That tells me that my parabola is opening down. When a parabola is vertical, you have x squared. X squared is equal to 4p times y. The p value is this -1. That means 4p is equal to -4. So, replacing 4p with -4, I have x squared is equal to -4y. So this will be the equation for number 10. Okay, let's do a quick sketch of number 11. So 1/2, 0. All right, let's say this is 1. So 1/2, 0 would be right here. So this is my focus. That means my parabola must be opening to the right. Okay, this is a sideways parabola. That tells us that the equation will start off with y squared. It's always y squared when it's sideways, all right, just like number 9. And it's always x squared when the parabola is vertical. So it's sideways, so it'll be y squared. Y squared equals 4p times x. Now, the focus tells us what the p-value is. And this is at 1/2. So the p-value is 1/2. If I take this and I multiply both sides by 4, then I get that 4p is equal to 2. So I'm just going to take this 4p and replace it with 2. So that gives me y squared is equal to 2x. All right, that's it for number 11. All right, number 12. Let's make a quick sketch. 0, 3 would be here. So that tells us that the parabola opens upward like this. So right away we know that we're dealing with x squared. X squared equals 4p times y. Now this is the p-value right here. So we know that p is 3. So multiplying both sides by 4, that means that 4p must equal 12. So that's what I'm going to put right here, 12. So this becomes x squared is equal to 12y. So that'll be the equation for number 12. All right, for the next few problems, we are to write a standard form equation of a parabola given the directrix. The vertex is still 0, 0. So these are the directrixes. Pretty sure that's how you say that. Remember, when you have x equals a number, that is a vertical line. So here's -1. X equals -1 is a vertical line at -1. Okay, the parabola should be opening in the opposite direction from the directrix. So this is a sideways parabola. So that tells me right away that I'm dealing with y squared. Y squared is equal to 4p times x. Now, this distance right here is in the opposite direction of the focus. So if the directrix is at -1, the focus will be at +1. And that's the p-value. So p is equal to +1. That means 4p must equal 4. So that's what I'm going to put right here. So I have y squared is equal to 4x. So remember, the p-value is always the distance to the focus. Y equals a number is a horizontal line. So y equals -3 is a horizontal line at -3. So this is the directrix. That means that the parabola must open in the opposite direction. So the parabola opens up. That also means that the focus, if the directrix is 3 down, then the focus is 3 up. So the focus is right here. That's important because that tells us the p-value. So basically p is 3. Because this is a upward facing parabola, it's vertical, that tells us that we're dealing with x squared. X squared is equal to 4p times y. But now we know that p is equal to 3. That means 4p is equal to 12. I'm just multiplying both sides by 4. So that's what I'm going to put right here. So x squared is equal to 12y. X equals a number is a vertical line, always. So this is a vertical line at 1/4. if this is 1, then 1/4 should be about here. So here's a vertical line at 1/4. Okay, that means that the parabola is opening in the opposite direction. So we're dealing with a parabola that is opening to the left. So this is a sideways parabola. It's horizontal. Whenever we have a horizontal parabola, we're going to have y squared beginning the equation. Y squared is equal to 4p times x. Now the p value goes with the focus. So if the directrix is at positive 1/4, then the focus will be at negative 1/4. That's the p value. So p is equal to negative 1/4. If I were to multiply both sides by 4, then I'm going to get 4p is equal to negative 1. 4 times 1/4 is 1, so negative 1. So that's what I'm going to put right here. 4p is negative 1. So that gives me y squared is equal to negative 1 times x, or negative x. So this would be the equation for number 15. Y equals 1/2 is a horizontal line at 1/2. So 1/2 is going to be about here. So just put 1/2. So this is the line y equals 1/2. That means the parabola must be opening in the opposite direction, so opening down. The focus will also be in the opposite direction. So if the directrix is at positive 1/2, then the focus should be here at negative 1/2. And that tells you the p value right there. So as soon as we see that this is a vertical parabola, we know that it's going to start off x squared in the equation. X squared is equal to 4p times y. That's the model that we're going to use. We now know, because of the focus, that p is equal to negative 1/2. But we need to know what 4p is. So imagine that I multiplied both sides by 4. So now I have 4p equals. Half of 4 is 2, so this should be negative 2. So that's what I'm going to put right here. Instead of 4p, I'm going to put negative 2. So this will become x squared is equal to negative 2y. So that's the equation for number 16. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and click here in the red apple to watch the next video. Click in the green apple to subscribe, or click the yellow apple for the full playlist.